I can say without hesitation that the Silent Hill series are some of my favorite games of all time. I will never forget that day when I was a kid finding myself controlling Harry Mason, wandering the streets of Silent Hill for the first time. That first section in the game, as the camera shifts to look down on you from above, as the alley becomes darker, twisting into a gnarled, blood rust-colored maze, illuminated only by your lighter, before you are then attacked, and the screen goes dark. Only for Harry to snap out of what seems like a dream in the town's diner, is burned into my mind forever. The original development team, Team Silent, was responsible for the first 4 entries of the Silent Hill series, which are, without a doubt in my mind, the best in the series. By 2007, some time after Silent Hill 4 failed to perform to the expectations Konami had on the game, and wanting to take the series in a different direction, Team Silent was disbanded, and development of future entries in the franchise went to Western development teams. While most of these entries weren't awful, and some were in fact pretty good, looking at you, Shattered Memories, all of them failed to recapture the horror and the emotion that the original games had. The original games all had a feel, and the Western games were all just imitations, copies. For the most part, the games were average to slightly above average titles, made by devs who didn't seem to fully understand what made Silent Hill, Silent Hill. Even when things shifted back to Japan for development of the next entry in Silent Hill, with Hideo Kojima's Silent Hills and his much acclaimed PT demo, things quickly fell apart, and that entry was cancelled. And until very recently, with the announcement of the Silent Hill 2 remake and a slew of other titles like Silent Hill F, the foggy streets of SH would remain shrouded in mystery. It was during this time between PT and the Silent Hill 2 remake, encompassing almost an entire decade, that internet legend began to spread about a cancelled installment, which was produced by Team Silent. That legend? Team Silent's Silent Hill 5. Not much is known about Silent Hill 5, but from what we can piece together, it would have been the most disturbing entry in the series, with series composer Akira Yamaoka calling it the darkest game to date, with releases scheduled for both the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, which would have been the current consoles at the time. It is also known that Silent Hill 5 scenario was taken from an earlier pitch for Silent Hill 3 by Takeyoshi Sato, who previously had worked on both Silent Hill 1 and 2 as a founding member of Team Silent. Supposedly, his script was so dark that it would have required revisions just to pass the censors. Shortly after Konami passed on Sato's vision for Silent Hill 3, Sato left the company altogether. But as previously stated, all was not lost, as Team Silent would resurrect his script for Silent Hill 5. In a 2006 interview with Famitsu, Akira Yamaoka said that the game would have had Silent Hill 2's psychological roots, and would feature something not really explored yet in a Silent Hill game: fear in daylight. In that same article, Yamaoka references the early Resident Evil 5 trailer, a game which takes place during the day. Resident Evil famously broke with survival horror traditions starting in Resident Evil 4, and 5 ended up being an action game with only horror elements as opposed to a pure survival horror title. I would argue that even today we've had very few, if any, pure survival horror titles that take place primarily during the day. With Silent Hill 5, the devs wanted to change the notion that games set during the day couldn't be scary. In a 2005 interview with Game World, Team Silent programmer Akihiro Amamura also discussed the then upcoming Silent Hill 5 with the following statement, quote, "Maybe I'll get in trouble for this, so Konami Japan don't fire me, but we are interested in playing with the idea of light, as in daylight and shadows. Ever since the pre-production of Silent Hill 2, we wanted to start a Silent Hill in a normal environment, daylight, people going about their business, just normality. What happens when you make that normality rot all around you. It is possible to make a normal sunny day really creepy. Just look at films like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or even one of our favorites, Jacob's Ladder." End quote. The idea of terror lurking just beyond from where your eye can see, waiting for you in the shadows, is truly a scary idea, and one I hope is explored in some future version of Silent Hill. It does seem like maybe, just maybe, this idea of fear in daylight has survived as seen in the trailer for the upcoming Silent Hill F, at least in the initial trailer we were shown by Konami. It's a shame we never got to see what Team Silent had in store for us, even though they were several years into development of Silent Hill 5. It's safe to assume that after almost 3 years of development, that the game was more than likely close to being finished. Given Team Silent's usual creation window, at this point, almost putting out a game a year. Surprisingly though, aside from Legend and a few scattered interviews and concept art, very little else remains of what could have been. If you were looking to experience the Silent Hill games yourself, I'd recommend hunting down some copies of whichever entries you can find. Out of the Team Silent games, only Part 4 is available from GOG to play on PC, and it runs for around $10. It's not the best in the series, but it has a fantastic story, and I'd highly recommend checking it out if you've never played it, and for $10, that's not a bad deal. Unfortunately, at this time, it's one of the few entries in the franchise that is actually available to play, but hopefully Konami will make the original games downloadable at some point. As for Silent Hill 5, I guess we'll just have to sit back and wonder if Silent Hill in the daytime is as scary as it is on a foggy, restless night. Take care, everyone.